ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hello and welcome back to Duran ASEAN Yo with Gauri.
And this is Grace.
And we will be moving on to our ASEAN Daily, of course, where we present to you news from Southeast Asia every morning from Monday to Friday. So earlier we actually talked about the tragedy that happened in France, so we haven't actually gotten into Southeast Asia yet. So I am going to kick off with the most important news probably, which is the ASEAN chair for next year. So as we all know, or may not know, Malaysia has actually taken over the ASEAN chairmanship for 2015, and we have a huge responsibility on our shoulders, and we will be we have to start working really hard in terms of increasing awareness, in terms of economic integration with all the 10 nations. And next year, though, Laos will be taking over as the ASEAN chairman.
This is their first time? Because Laos is considered as a one... sorry.
Laos will actually host the chairmanship in ASEAN 2016, and the United States and Brunei will actually be providing English language training to the Lao officials to prepare them for this chairmanship, because they don't actually have a very good command of English. So in order to actually be the chairman of ASEAN, which means you're automatically in charge of 10 different countries in the region.
So what will happen is the expanded program will bring the two additional English languages, two language fellows, one from United States and one from Brunei, who will arrive in Laos in early January to train 150 and 200 security and liaison officials.
And of course, this is because English is the primary language of engagement among all the ASEAN countries. Because we are so diverse and there's so many different languages, even if you look at one country itself, there could be up to 10 different languages being spoken. And so English is the one that is being used when the 10 nations get together and they're trying to have a meeting or communicate. And apart from that, this program will also strengthen the ASEAN integration by building the English language capability, promoting greater awareness of the rich cultural diversity that exists, and also facilitating the communication between teacher, trainers, and also officers and diplomats.
And definitely Laos is the country which considered one of the poorest ASEAN region, and also they have their own issues regarding religion and the environmental issues that we actually talked about over dialogue session yesterday. And then when it comes to chairmanship, they have a lot of responsibilities to be able to make the ASEAN as a single market and to be able to lead all the other remaining ASEAN regions. So definitely English is very crucial when it comes to communication with other countries.
And when it comes to Laos, is a country that usually it's not as developed as all the other countries in Southeast Asia, especially if you look at Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, and Myanmar. But Myanmar did actually do a good job, and a lot of countries were impressed with the way they handled. So probably Laos can pull it off as well, and they've already started having English language training. So, but this year is of course Malaysia, and like I mentioned earlier, we still have a lot of work to do. Especially in terms of the AEC, the ASEAN Economic Community, where we are trying to come together as a single market, single production base. So all the best to Laos, and all the best to Malaysia as well, who is the current chairman. So moving on to Malaysia, we have the group of 25 prominent Malays who was supposed to meet the PM last night. So we don't know the outcome of the meeting yet, but this meeting has been agreed to as far back as 22nd of December between the representative of the G25, Dato' Nur Farida Arifin, and also Dato' Jailani Ngah, who is the Prime Minister's political secretary.
And also, this meeting was supposed to prepare for an eventual meeting with the Prime Minister over religious and racial issues that has been going on in this country for years and years. And also, this meeting is being held on the instruction of PM for the relevant government agencies to meet with the G25 and to come up with the suitable recommendations. This G25 so far has expanded more than it was supposed to be, and then it's actually a good news because people are heard about this movement, and then that they want to join this movement to be able to raise the important issues in this country to and also be able to deliver the messages to the PM.
And what's more important is that they actually inspired other people to speak up as well, because after they come up with the G25, then we also had the Kami Juga 25, then we had the 26, and a few other groups that are coming up as well, because most of the time there are a lot of things that people want to say, but they don't know how to do it. They don't know what is the suitable platform, how to reach out to someone like the Prime Minister, who's of course he's our own Prime Minister, but it can be really tough with all the red tapes, all the procedures in between. It's not like you can just walk into his office and talk to him. So after these people actually they spoke up against things that they were not happy about, and they came up with this whole memorandum, and all these other groups started doing the same thing. They're like, hey, I want to say something to the Prime Minister as well. We, as citizens of Malaysia, we want to speak up. We also have certain things that we want to raise to the Prime Minister. So they have actually managed to secure a meeting with the Prime Minister, which was what the whole thing was about in the first place, to address the concerns.
Yep, and also it was earlier reported that Islamic Renaissance Front, or IRF, Sisters in Islam, SIS, and the Movement for the Just World, Just or GUSD, had held a private meeting with the former Prime Minister, Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, last Tuesday to discuss their concerns of a rising tension and the government apparent lack of action against these issues, because when it comes to raising issues in this country, not many issues are heard, or not many issues are delivered to the government directly, because so many procedures have to be taken, and then sometimes it looks like as if the issues are just being ignored by the government. That's when people start complaining about it.
And just to give a little more update, the G25 is actually made up of former top civil servants, ambassadors, academicians, and also civil rights activists. And they issued an open letter on the Star, our local newspaper, on 8th of December, where they expressed all their concerns, whatever issues that they wanted to say, especially on the application of Islamic laws in the country. So the other groups that came up, their line of worries are along the same page of what the G25 have raised, mostly about having a moderate Malaysia, equal rights for everybody, and also to do away with all this religious extremism and bigots who are trying to get into people's head.
And definitely, definitely, this educated authorities or people will be able to organize all these ideas together and to be able to deliver to the government in an appropriate manner.
So let's move on to a little update on our Air Asia QZ 8501. We have, as of yesterday, we have 8 more victims who were identified, and this was confirmed by the East Java Police Disaster Victim Identification, who said that bodies of more than 8 more of the 162 people have been identified. And the East Java Police Medical and Health Department chief also announced on Wednesday that the DVI team had identified all this through the search and rescue team between the first of their operation through to last week.
So far, if I'm not mistaken, I think there will be 41 bodies that have been retrieved from this accident. And then the research engine, also the investigation are still going on, and they are trying their best to compensate the victims of QZ 8501, and also to be able to listen what they really want to hear from this event? Well, there aren't many. There are many stories around this event, but then we should also be careful what to deliver via our social media, because after all, the families of the victim will always check via social media and also from the airline itself.
And also a little more update on what we said about the flight to Surabaya, that it was actually flying, that the route was not actually approved. It seems that Tony Fernandez has come out to say that they actually have approvals to fly to Surabaya. So he is disputing all the comments that was made by the other newspapers before this, that said that, why would you guys fly at a route that is not approved? And he has come forward to say we have the right to fly Surabaya, Singapore, and we had flown that schedule, had rights for 7 days a week.
However, the report that they made via media was then completely wrong, and then there will be a conflict between the CEO of AirAsia, who is Antonio Fernandez, and the media itself, because media wouldn't just so simply report what they heard. They will also read other media agency to check what's been reported, and then this is very contradicting.
And what happened was also the Transportation Ministry suspended AirAsia's flight permit because it was revealed that it allegedly at that time violated the operational procedures by flying on a Sunday, when their license actually allowed them to fly Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So they actually have to start they were advised to actually start looking into their route schedule, revise it, and make sure it's clear to everybody which days exactly that they are allowed to fly, which days they're not, because like you see, anything can happen, and we don't want it to be something as trivial as because of a route schedule that got mixed up. So the Transportation Ministry is also trying to meet up with him and evaluate the coordination between the slots and the airport to prevent anything like this from happening in the future.
Definitely.
And let's move on to Philippines, who they have a lot of startups going on in the country, and these startups are being seen as a very important to play a very important role in the ASEAN integration. And we've talked a lot about startups, not only in Philippines, even in Malaysia, all over Southeast Asia. Actually, it's a booming industry, and even in Malaysia, SMEs are also said to be the ones to play the key role in this ASEAN integration.
And in fact, when it comes to a startup, it leads to talk about more about entrepreneurship in the one country, and then that also will lead to boost up the economic growth in the one nation, and it will provide more job opportunity. But then when it comes to startup, there are so many SMEs or even smaller companies they want to set up, and that they want to have a private their own companies there, and then there will be a lot of I wouldn't say regulation, but the things that they really need to know before they doing their businesses, because as much as the startups are coming up, there are also many startups that are just faded away because of the ideas are good, but then how they go about, for example, like the planning and execution of the planning, it's still lacking. So when it comes to startup, ASEAN really needs to look into the consideration to be able to develop their ideas and to be able to make it happen.
And the AEC will also be providing these startups with a chance to showcase whatever technological advances that they have, and also their business skills to a wider audience. And this will help to open door for international investors. And it's very interesting because we try not to have a lot of people who are just followers, who cannot think for themselves, who always need people to make decisions for themselves. What we really want in order to move forward as a nation or even as a region, we need more people who can be innovative, people who can come up with new ideas, new ways to do the same old things. And that's where all these different startups come in, and that's also why they play a very important role, because they are the ones constantly moving the whole region or the whole industry forward. And one local startup, which is called the Sustainable Alternative Lighting, also joined the Philippine-based Idea Space competition. So Idea Space is a startup competition that's happening, and it's also currently accepting entries through their website until January 15. And this is also to encourage more people to get into startup, because at the end of the day, this is the one that will really boost the markets.
Definitely. And like you mentioned before and just now, the director, Associate Director of the Strategy and the Business Development, Katrina Chan, she actually mentioned that there is no reason to be afraid of the upcoming ASEAN integration. It will definitely open more opportunities for startups to enter different markets. So that will definitely, it will bring more positive vibe to SMEs and also entrepreneur as well as startups in the ASEAN region.
And hopefully Malaysia can catch up with that as well. So we are going to take another short break. When we come back, more news on Southeast Asia.
ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hello and welcome back to Duran ASEAN. You're still with Gauri,
And you're still with Grace.
and we are still talking about Southeast Asia.
Yes, for sure. And what's the next news, Gauri?
We are going to talk about Myanmar for a bit now, and they have arrested more than 100 foreigners for illegal logging in the country. And most of this happened near the Chinese border, according to their defense minister.
And also the minister did not identify the nationality of 102 foreigners, but said the illegal logging took place in Kachin state near the Myanmar-Chinese border. And also in a statement, it was said that the raid followed an area survey of logging activities in the state.
So the army, they seized a document which was allegedly signed by an ethnic Kachin Independence Army economic officer, allowing logging in the area where there's actually been fighting between the Kachin rebels and the government troops that erupted about 4 years ago. And in the recent years, they have actually been trying really hard to come up with different measures, different ways to curb all this smuggling and logging. And in fact, they even they even banned the export of logs in April last year, because they are trying to reduce the amount of deforestation that's happening in the country at the moment, and also to boost their wood-based industry.
But apparently there is also a demand from China for wood, and then like you said, it was banned, but they are still having the illegal import of wood, especially high value varieties such as rosewood and antique.
And when it comes to deforestation, it's a very serious problem, because even with the recent floods that happened in Malaysia, a lot of people attributed the factors to the logging and the deforestation that was going on in the area. And which is why Myanmar has actually stepped up. And last year itself, they have already banned this whole any activities in regarding logging or any attempt of deforestation. And this is a good move. But they still have people who are coming in and logging
illegally,
especially along the borders of the country. And it seems that they also seized some stimulant drugs, some raw opium, and Chinese currency during these 3-day operation.
So definitely looks like it. There is a illegal trading going on between Myanmar and China, because the demand from China is still increasing when it comes to all this illegal logging or smuggling some illegal products.
And we also know that Myanmar has recently returned to growing all these poppy seeds. They have returned to cultivating opium, because some people, some communities in Myanmar are really poor, and they don't have a choice because they don't have any other source of income. And this in turn can also attract people to actually come in, and if they don't want to pay for the high price, then they try to do it illegally, to get it out of the country and to take it back to China and sell it there. So we'll see how this one turns out as well, because they have arrested 100 foreigners and they have not revealed the identity. So of course, some of them are probably Chinese, but we don't know about the others, which country they're from and all. So we'll have to wait for an update on that. And another news that is also kind of shaking up ASEAN right now is, of course, the oil price that is starting to fall, and it will continue to drop as high production meets weak demand, and also a strong US dollar that plays a role in this.
Well, this is kinda sad, at the same time good news to Asian countries, because when oil prices drop, more cars will be able to afford for their fuel. But however, it affects directly to their currencies. For example, currencies in a sense that for example, ringgit has been dropping, and also Japanese yen also been dropping. So that means the value of our currency is also decreasing at the same time. So only the country will benefit from this is USA.
So while the immediate outlook for oil remains weak, some analysts are actually saying that cheaper fuel costs for households and businesses should at some point support the demand, especially in manufacturing-led economies, because it noted that lower oil prices could also save China more than 1% of their GDP on imports. And in Japan, cheaper fuel cost will not only benefit large industry, but also help to reduce the deficit that they already have in the country. And it will also work out well for India in this case, which is Asia's third largest economy. And the lower oil imports will also be a boon, because it gives them more opportunity in terms of growth prospects in the country.
And also in Japan, you mentioned before, and in India, well, another drag on oil comes from the dollar for sure. And with the U.S. Federal Reserve expected to raise interest rate this year for the first time since 2006, and also is supported by the healthy growth, the dollar is likely to keep strengthening, putting more pressure on the oil market as the European and Asian currencies fall.
And they're also saying that there's also more oil in the system as slowing economies are using less, and as energy efficiency improves, which is true, because our government, a lot of other countries, the government have been pushing to look for alternative sources of fuel, alternative sources of energy, because we don't want to rely on energy sources that can be depleted probably in hundreds or in the next hundreds of years. And a lot of them have been, a lot of countries have also started using alternative energies, and because of this, it's affecting the demand on oil, and that in turn is dropping the oil prices. So it's like a whole domino effect that is happening here.
Okay.
But then again, it is benefiting a lot of countries, so that seems like you said, it's sad, but it's also a positive thing at the same time.
It's definitely something to look at, because when it comes to oil, that definitely connects to the currency. Currency of I mean, literally the money itself of the nation. So it is actually concern to Asian countries, to be honest.
So we are almost at the end of our segment of ASEAN Daily. And just before we wrap things up, the Pope Francis is actually visiting the Philippines, which they are all looking forward to. And this also is posing some security challenges for Manila authorities. And the Pope is also trying to, he said he would actually ride unprotected in a vehicle, because he's not scared of the people in the Philippines. But this has raised a huge amount of concern about his safety and about what could possibly happen. And this he's going to be in Philippines from the 15th of January to the 19th of January to pay visits to the Tacloban city and also the Palau town, two areas that were devastated by the typhoon Haiyan in 2013.
And the Philippines is definitely a Christian and a Catholic country, so it will draw a lot of attention when he visits the country. And his visit hasn't been without some controversy. In fact, T-shirts paying tribute to the Pope's visit were banned from the shelves in December after Catholic leaders described the shirt design as misleading. And also, this T-shirt depicted the word "No race, no religion. I embrace diversity." And it actually was meant as a testament to the leaders' reformist stance on certain issues, like, for example, divorce and the same-sex marriage.
But this Pope has also been, he's known as one of the very moderate ones, and his visit to, especially to a Catholic country, will help them to see things in a new light, and also to be more reasonable about things. So that's all that we have for this morning on our ASEAN Daily. Thank you so much for listening to us.
And then do visit our website at DurianASEAN.com. We also have social channels such as Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
And also, don't forget to download the TuneIn app on your smartphone if you want to listen to us on the go. So we'll be back later for our Durian Heat, where we put someone in the hot seat and grill them with questions. Until then, this is Gauri.
And this is Grace.